Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Well, it's halfway through January, but I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year. Happy 2020. I hope the year is unfolding in a very pleasant, harmonious way for you thus far. In fact, I hope last year your celebrations, your gatherings, your social world, family time and all that stuff, I hope everything went really well, whatever way you choose to celebrate the end of the year. Happy holidays and all that stuff. So, yes, it's now the 15th of January as I record this. Not to say I haven't tried before. Honestly, I would estimate that I have made 10 videos to you so far. I started on the 3rd of January and I just couldn't get through it, to be quite honest with you. Some of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm just one of those people who have been extremely affected emotionally and mentally over the bushfire situation here in Australia, and I'm a very sensitive person at the best of times, let alone the worst. I always have been, and I guess I just have that empathic streak. And when it comes to the welfare of animals and nature, I was shattered into a million pieces when it really became evident towards the end of last year that this was going to be an ongoing thing. And it's no better. In fact, when I checked in with you last, I think there were about 82 fires burning in New South Wales alone, and now there are 140. That's just in my state. So I sat down with you and I wanted to share just a little bit about my grief, only because I couldn't, and I still can't, I can't actually get past it and start chit-chatting with you about my diary and my sacred space and decks I might want to buy, etc., without mentioning the fires, because to me, I feel like I'm disrespecting the people and the animals who are suffering at the moment. I just could not do it. So I tried so many different videos, making a quick mention and moving on and this, that and the other. But most of the time, upon mentioning what's going on, I could not record a video without breaking down. I'm not joking. So, yeah, it has been and remains beyond horrific and tragic. So it is estimated now by the experts that we have lost 1.25 billion animals. That includes birds and reptiles. And that's just way too many, isn't it? And it's not over yet. The fires continue. Now there is a beautiful little island off the south of Australia, South Australia, just off near Adelaide, the city of Adelaide. And I think there are more animals that live on that little island than there are humans, and that is now on fire in a very savage way. So I've been concentrating on that, and in the very beginning, I must admit, I was angry. I had to look into my own shadow work because I was triggered by our lackluster government, who, like many governments around the world, when things like this occur, when you're dealing with catastrophic events, they are always very slow to act. Our Prime Minister was in denial, you know, it's just another bushfire season, da-da-da. And what really got me was our state government and federal government cut millions of dollars to essential services, e.g. the Royal Fire Service and Parks and Wildlife. And Parks and Wildlife are in charge of essential backburning techniques that, you know, you obviously have to know what the hell you're doing in order to handle backburning in a country like Australia where it's very dry. But our state government, cut millions of dollars to those services alone in the month of November, and that's when things got really out of control and people's homes started burning down. And I thought, are you for real? Are you having a lend of these people that are now living in their car? So it was very difficult for me to sit here and chat with you because I felt so sickened in my belly. And I love this country passionately, and for the first time in my life I was so disgusted. I thought, you know, I could pack up my things and move to another country. it was just a horrible, horrible place to be in my own mind, in my own... I honestly believe that I experienced sincere heartbreak or heartache over this situation. It really has affected every area of my life, and I saw so many things that I'm doing and dealing with as very trivial when you cast your eyes upon what's going on around you. I mean, we had fires very, very close to the area in which I live. I mean, I'm on the ocean side. I guess you'd call it an inner city suburb. I'm absolutely fine. But when it came to those very severe days where we had high winds and local fires, my house was overcome by smoke on many occasions, to the point where it affected my throat, my eyes, and my chest. And I thought, this is nothing. And yet I have to close all my windows. The smoke was so thick. It was raining ash. I had ash, honestly, like a blanket of ash over all my furniture. So the fires weren't that far. But again, this is nothing. I still have my shower, and I can make a cup of coffee, and I can lay down on my bed. And what really sent me into a very deep, dark funk was the fact that I knew, because I'm getting that pungent bushfire smell, the people and animals were suffering now, right now, day and night. And we had about a week and a half ago another dose of gale force winds, and they were, you know, those creepy winds that actually do howl. The wind has a voice, and it's in the middle of the night, and I didn't sleep at all, because all I could see in my mind was these raging fires, and they jump freeways. You know what they're like. They turn in directions. I mean, firemen have perished in this whole horrendous situation. And, you know, the animals. It's the animals. The ripple effect of these fires that have destroyed our beautiful forests, our nature reserves. The fires are starting to affect our rainforests now, which is home to many endangered species. We also have to remember that trees don't regrow in a year or two. It takes many decades. So my biggest heartache is over the coming decades, and for the children. What sort of environment do they grow up in? And we're losing our animals in the most horrific way. That's what upsets me. I couldn't think of anything worse. This is when I have to stop. So I have said what I've said because this is my way of showing respect to those whom are suffering and those who have perished. So thank you for your respect if you're still here. I really appreciate it. I'm just one Aussie woman who's, probably a little too sensitive for my own good, but I can't relax with you and share my stuff unless I do what I just did. So this is my way of holding space. Because these fires are ongoing, there is no quick fix, unfortunately. So if we've lost 1.25 billion animals and birds and reptiles now, well, what is going to be the count towards the end of it? I want to talk about decks and stuff and where I'm at, but I don't want this video to be too long. So I'll just say that I might do perhaps a follow-up video and share with you where I'm heading. It's a very interesting, and just like that, it was the following day. I hit a bit of a snag yesterday, my friends. My neighbours decided to upgrade their garage doors. Yes, not one, but two. And it turns out that yesterday was the day, and I didn't know, and it ended up being a very, very noisy environment with drills going into brickwork, and you can imagine removing old garage doors and all that stuff. So it did basically ruin the second half of my video, And rather than just cut it short mid-sentence, so to speak, I thought, look, I'll just remove that whole segment and start again. So despite bouts of deja vu, which I'm about to experience, I'm going to recap what I was sharing with you yesterday. Honestly, I just wanted to share the fact that, well, I'm putting this on camera. Where is it? Where is it? I did say at the beginning of last year that I was going to study the Thoth deck. And I didn't. I dabbled. I did what I always do. I picked it up. I had a little play here and there and all that stuff. Yep. But that is not study. That's just playing around with. So this is the larger size that I bought quite some time ago. I have the standard deck also. And I did trim it many months ago. But I didn't have a corner rounder that I trusted. The one I've had for many years is moody at the best of times. So that's going. And I thought the best way to go about it is to buy one online. And I found one that was extremely inexpensive and had quick delivery. $4, $4.50 Australian. Oh my God, this little fellow is amazing. And as you can see, this is the end result. I love just the small rounded edges, if you know what I mean. I don't like the really big wide ones. This is amazing. It's just given this deck a whole new lease on life, and I've been very excited to do so. It even didn't look too bad when it had the square corners, to be honest, after I'd trimmed it. But this is the ultimate. Nice and smooth. So I feel my my drive towards studying has that extra spark now, a little bit like this. I just feel really enthused. My enthusiasm is growing to get in there like this, the Ace of Wands, to get started and study. I think it is all in the timing though. Other things came up for me last year, and that's just the way it is. And as it happened, during 2019, I did stumble onto a few books that were up for sale pertaining to Thoth and the system of Thoth, locally or within Australia. And I was able to buy them for a very inexpensive price. So now I'm well equipped to move forward officially and give it my best shot. I've never been afraid of Thoth. I've always loved the artwork. Oh my God. And of course, what do I end up? The tower just jumped up at me, of course. And I love this particular tower card. Wow. That is powerful. That is active. It's like a passionate tower. It says, come on, let's go. So, yeah, for me personally, I've never been one to, I know some people find it a little bit eerie or creepy, or they don't like it, or they have an issue with Aleister Crowley himself. And look, the way I look at it is, he's no longer with us. He's not going to come and knock at my door and tell me how to do my studies, is he? That doesn't worry me at all. And I think in a way, as a tarot enthusiast, I'm cheating myself if I don't delve in and learn properly and understand the system, and then see what happens from there. And the same goes for the Marseille system. I've been wanting to study, and I missed out on a course last year. You've got to get in and enroll and all that kind of thing. And hopefully I'll be able to do something with that this year. But this is my number one. I don't want to overcrowd myself. And even though my word of the year is wonder, considering the tower is still very, very close to my heart and within the vicinity, I feel if I were to have a secondary word of the year, I would say fluidity would be it. I need to, as long as the tower is in my space, to remain fluid, flexible, open to change, expect the unexpected, and I think I'll get through that journey in a more in a manner that is far more pleasing and acceptable to my nervous system, let's just say. So it's going to be, even if it's disruptive, as long as you're calm on the inside because you're expecting anything at any time. I don't mean be in fight or flight, be on edge, but just be open to whatever comes. So I don't want to overcrowd myself. I think one step at a time, and I will start with this. And I'd be rather disappointed if something else got in the way of my Thoth studies this year, but I have to remain open. Let's just see what happens. Because for me, last year, meditation became the number one rather than a tarot study. and I just had to go with that as well. It just came to me, and I had an opportunity to study with a teacher who travelled up here from Sydney, and that's sort of, yeah, that was really high on the list of priorities. I know we can do two things at once, folks, but yeah, rather than study, it was no study, it was no thing, it was clear the mind. Don't fill the mind with words and information, and that was just part of my 2019 journey. So I'm saying it now because I'll be very embarrassed if I have to check in later on in the year and tell you that I haven't done anything. I'm very, very keen to edge, but I had an issue with another deck, and I'll show you. Now I'm getting nervous. I have Sharpies. Just want to know, if you edged this deck, what did you use? I do have a couple of these dear little ink pads here, and I think the colours are quite sweet, and I could use, well, at least one of them if you look at the backing. But I really love this. It's like a champagne pink colour. This one's beautiful. And I thought maybe I'll do both. Or I could get, I don't want that bright red, not at all. But maybe another colour that's a little lighter that pertains to the backing here. But I'm just open to suggestions because it's multicoloured, as you know. Do I do multicoloured edges? But I love this large thoth so much. If this bleeds, I will be extremely sad. Just had a light bulb moment. My standard thoth is not trimmed. I might actually edge, because it's the same cardstock, I might edge that one first untrimmed, and if it's diabolical, I can trim it off anyway. Because this is my treasure, the large size. But I'd love to hear from you. If you used any particular type of marker, let me know. And I'll tell you why I'm nervous. And I've never been nervous before. I certainly have edged other decks. But this here, a little story to tell. Some time ago, I was in the thick of my non-attachment practices, and I decided, look, the only deck I really want at this time is the Marielle. I don't own it, and I don't know, was this a year ago, something like that? And I found a lady on Marketplace who is on the other side of the country, but within the country, who wanted to swap her Marielle, and she really wanted the deck that I had. And that deck was, in the height of its fame, Oracle of Oddities 3rd edition, and it sold out. So it wasn't really an even swap, but I decided, look, it's not about that. It's not about the exact price and all that shizzle. If I want the Marielle and she doesn't want the Marielle and she wants one, just swap, Leander. It's, you know, that's what it's all about. So I went with it. I did ask her to send me some photos. She sent two. One of the cards just in a pile and another one with the cards within the box. And you can see the box is in pristine condition. I could see the ribbon and everything. It had been very well looked after. So I went with it. Here's a big mistake that I made. I didn't realise that she had used the large corner rounder on the deck. I know it's not the end of the world, but I'm not a fan at all. Even medium I can do. I've got a medium one that I've used myself, but this is rather large. And because they're long and narrow, I thought, yeah, I just don't really like it. Anyway, to my horror, when I did receive the deck, it was not trimmed very well, folks. No offense. I'm sure this lady meant well. She seemed to be very nice, but wow, I was a little horrified. Some cards were okay, many were not. Like scissor hacking into it marks, little chips and, oh, geez. Anyway, so I had to very, very carefully go through and trim those little bits off to the best of my ability. The deck wasn't edged, so I thought, look, that'll fix it. I'll edge it. At least I have the Marielle. Obviously, this is the original edition with the shiny cardstock. And what I'll do is I'll edge it in black. And I did. And yes, again, it's shiny cardstock. I'm aware of that. But I did do it with a flat nib Sharpie and not good. So now I actually don't like this deck at all. This particular Marielle, not the Marielle. Look at this. And I'm very particular when I'm doing the edging. Look. It just bled all around the front. And it's just not even. Some are okay. That one's a little better. I don't mind that, just a tiny little. But when it's all uneven, look at this. That there is a mess. I'm very embarrassed about my work. But I'm astounded. And I asked a friend of mine, because I've got the Deviant Moon, which I love. Borderless, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Now I'm actually afraid to use my flat nib Sharpie on that deck. So if you have edged this as well as, or the Deviant Moon, will you please let me know what you used? Now, I did ask a friend of mine in the States, and she said, yep, I just used a Sharpie on my Deviant Moon. It's absolutely fine. But now I'm just, and it has to be edge. You can't have the Deviant Moon without it being black on the, or, you know, some kind of groovy colour on the edge. Even an antique gold would probably look pretty cool on that deck. But now I'm trepidatious about it. So will you let me know if you've done this one or the other one or both, and what is it that you used? What's those amazing markers? Webster and something or other? Something and Webster? Gordon and Schuster? I can't remember what they're called. I don't own them, but if they are the ones, I don't know. Just let me know. But that broke my heart. Then I found that a woman in my local vicinity was selling her Marielle original edition, and I thought, yay. But she was asking, I thought, way too much for a used deck. I thought that was a little bit OTT. And of course it didn't sell, and it sat there for a couple of weeks, and then she reduced it down to $30, and I thought, ooh, that's good. I'll take it. And I just happened to be busy and didn't get around to it. It actually slipped my mind, believe it or not. And I went back in and checked, and I thought, oh, it'll be sold. And it was still there, and she had just reduced it to $25. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is meant for me. So I jumped on, yes, please. And she wrote, I'm going away. I need someone that can come and pick it up like now and pay, because I'm off like tomorrow afternoon or something. And I wrote saying, would you believe I am a 15-minute drive from you, because it's on Marketplace. It could be from anywhere. And I said, I will work around you. I'll come whatever time you want to pick it up, if that works for you. And sold. Yeah, that kind of thing. And she wrote back and said, no, thanks. What, is it my perfume? What does that mean? You just said that you want to get rid of it. It's on sale for $25. And anyway, if she means, I'm sorry, you can't because someone jumped in before you, I get that. But just to say no thanks was really bizarre. Is it something I said? Anyway, I don't know this person at all, but there you have it. I haven't done a lot of swaps and sales. I've done one swap with a beautiful, beautiful lady on Marketplace before, so it's not like I've been doing these random, you know, selling things and being mean to people. It's not my style anyway. I don't get it. Anyway, it wasn't meant to be. So right now I'm stuck with this one. The new version, I would jump on it if only they would have provided the original Hierophant card. And why did they change the High Priestess? Why did they change? I thought that card is absolutely amazing. So I'm not in a rush to go and get the second edition. And that's very sad, because as far as the card stock goes and borderless, it would be perfect. But I just don't really feel the need. So I'm going to be patient. It's not like I cannot use the deck. I can. I just have to ignore that shocking job. I'll just pass these on to someone who perhaps is in need and doesn't have the money to buy a new deck once I can get my hands on a nice original copy. Or fingers crossed, wouldn't it be wonderful if they do a third edition down the track and do what everyone has suggested, just provide those few extra cards for people that don't like the originals, but leave the originals. That it's the original artwork. I just don't see how they can be left out. It's such a shame. Anyway, that's my Marielle story. No thanks. Actually, you know, it hurts your heart a little bit. What does that mean? Anyway, so the only other thing I wanted to share, because there's other things to talk about with decks. Oh, I know. First two cards. for January. I have pulled a number of spreads for January. I mentioned in my last video that I want to concentrate more on the monthlies and document them in further detail than I did last year. So maybe a 2-card draw here, a 5-card spread there, but just all pertaining to the month of January, because I think there's different elements in life that come up through different spreads. That's what I started to notice last year. So you may do one spread and at the end of the month you think, oh, that was definitely about work. But doing 3, one comes up about home life, another one might come up about well-being. So the cards are speaking to me from different astrological houses, if you like, and that's working super well. So I'm going to continue that, which is why I have my wonderful new disc planner that I love so much to document these things. So first 2 cards, I just said, give me the essence of January, please. Of course, the Tower and the World. What a team, the Tower and the World. And you know, when I first glanced at this, the first thing that came to my mind was this theme, this practice, this way of being, this is a continuing journey, which I accept. I'm very aware of that. But it's okay. It's all right. It's going to work out well. So whatever falls will fall. Whatever is falling, allow it to continue falling and crumbling down into rubble, whatever it is. But, you know, this is a completion that's meant to be, and everything will be fine. And I love the words at the bottom of this world card. The whole world is charged with the majesty of God. And that's what gave me that reassurance. Oh, for anyone who may not be familiar with this artwork, this is the Rumi Tarot by Nigel Jackson. That's obviously the guidebook. I don't have a box. I was able to grab this for a song pre-loved, and thank goodness everything was in pristine condition. So yeah, January, early January, start off the year with my best friend, and that's very sweet. Can I just say, I love the backing. I love the color. It's absolutely beautiful. So knowing that, I have been paying particular attention to my journal and how I'm going to manage the journal. But out of that comes the freedom that I feel with this is just overwhelmingly joyful, because I know that as these changes occur throughout the year, and no doubt with the Tower, I'm going to go through further changes and disruptions, etc. This can be pulled apart and reconfigured as I need it. So whether I find myself needing more space for spreads, or more space for mindful practices, more spreads for magic and intention setting, it doesn't matter. You can just add and subtract as you see fit. And just as a little extra, I made this notebook out of the discs that I already had, and I bought the hole puncher so I can transfer pages from either to either. And the only other thing I'll add to that before this gets too long is I did buy, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I did purchase an HP sprocket. I've had my eye on this thing for so long, but they went on sale over the counter, and I thought, oh, that's very convenient. This is what the box looks like. And this is the original one, because there's now an HP sprocket plus, which means it prints out an image just a little bit bigger. You buy the paper in these little boxes. This one here is 2 inches by 3 inches, but for me that's enough. The new one, if you decide to get it, I think the images are just like the photos that prints out are just a little bit bigger, but you get less paper per box, and the sprocket and the paper refills are more expensive than this version. So for me, if you do a lot of 3 or 4 or even 5 card spreads, you'll be absolutely fine on this. I mean, I can see these very, very clearly, and my camera does not do well with close-ups. I'm sorry, I'm recording this on a mobile phone, but I can see the details. Now, by the way, that's the Tower card. The journey continues. But this is the Santa Muerte deck, and it's very intricate, the Tower card, and I can see every detail and the skull at the top when I look at this. So it may not show on camera, but trust me, it does work. And there's a lot of spare space around. I mean, I could have zoomed in a little closer for these. So you could easily do 6 cards to one image. So I thought, well, what's the point in buying the other one that may be a little more expensive. If you do a 9-card spread or you want close-ups of a 6-card, I think the idea is take two. Take 2 photos, place them together, and then you've got, you know, all the space in the world to write down your notes to go with it. So I'm so pleased I bought this. It's a great little gadget, and it's extremely portable. That's the most important thing. Well worth it. So I called this January Vibes, and basically this is just going to be all the spreads that I feel are significant enough to go into the journal will do. And so to cap things off, I've been thinking very, very carefully and closely about my journaling and how I keep my diaries, and that had a bit of a domino effect, and I started going through my notebooks and journals from years gone by, and I thought, look, these are wonderful reference books, but really have a think about it. Over the months and years to come, do you think, I asked myself, you will go through them again and again? I mean, it is good reference material, but are you going to use them? Because if you're not, I can just hear my friend speak, like channeling. I'm channeling the Tower card. If you're not going to refer to them, what's the point in keeping them on your bookshelf? So what I decided to do, and I must admit this exercise commenced last year. I started going through my notebooks and journals, and I pulled out all significant quotes and spreads and notes, to put it in a nutshell. And I am choosing, or I have chosen to, oh, here they are, retype them. So they're little snippets from lectures, courses, documentaries, interviews, whatever, that I have either read or seen. It might be an excerpt out of a book. But I think, as an example, if I've taken notes at a seminar and or from a documentary, now I actually believe I'm going to read the whole lot again over and over? Or is it best to just read it over now, take out the highlights that mean something to me as the person I am now, and place them in the journal in a way that's inviting to be reread, inviting me to refer to this journal again and again? So I think in the grand scheme of things, less is more. So to give you just one example, if it's just a little quote, you know, it might be just a line in passing that a teacher said or a lecturer said. It may be a line out of a book, whatever. This is what I'm choosing to do. So I type it up. You could write it if you've got beautiful handwriting, but I just love using different fonts. I rip this by hand and then I edge it and place it in here. So rather than, this might be, say, from one lecture, instead of having 3 foolscap pages of information, I've got 3 standout comments or quotes that really assist me along the way. And there could be, like this one's a little bit longer. This is one woman's practice. She used to have a course for women, like a women's group that may have been feeling a little bit down on themselves, suffering low self-esteem, etc. And they used to chant this together in the room. I am inspired now, I am on fire now. And I thought, wow, that's a great motivator. So that's completely separate. I'll be ripping that out and then ripping around this one here. This, I think, was a part of another documentary on self-actualization that I wrote. Here's another few little snippets. So that's what I've been doing, going through. This is about the Gospel of Thomas, and you can see I've ripped this out of my old journal. I'm just going to place that back into, hopefully, into this one here. This was actually from an interview, or a documentary, should I say, with Greg Braden. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing, because I'm finding that when I do go back over those journals, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, because I'm asking, will you ever go through them? Yet I made myself go through them. But I hope I'm making sense. I had to coerce myself to sit down towards the end of last year and just bit by bit go through my recent journals and notebooks and really pay attention to everything I often scribble down in them. And yeah, keep what I would deem as valuable and helpful to me now. And I will keep them in here, and dare I say it again, if ever I grow out of them, that's what a disc planner's for. Just take them out and I can replace it with something else. But I just felt in my system, in my belly, that I don't need to keep all of that information any longer. And so that's why it led me to do what I'm doing. I might end up transferring them into this book that I made here. This just could be notes on philosophy and healing or mindful practices, whatever it is. But I love the fact that at the end of the day, the aim is to put it in the diary, make as many dividers as you need. And I keep saying diary. Sorry, I do mean journal. I have a diary. You know, my day to a page. That's more daily dealings and astro highlights. But this is like my book of I. This is where the action is. Spreads, intentions, mindfulness practices, habit tracker, my philosophies, my experiences, my motivations, my struggles, everything's going to go in here. And then as this fills, because I haven't done much work with it yet, the beauty is I will be able to incorporate, say if I've got a whole lot of notes about life, the universe and everything, and I might think, hey, this would go well amongst those notes, I can just insert it into that area. So that's my main focus with my journal. It's going to incorporate a whole lot of things, but for some reason this has become my little hobby. Type it up, you know, just do a little bit of edging, and it's like watering the garden. It's like a meditation process almost. You just forget about things, your mind clears, and you're just concentrating. I guess you could say it's like edging a deck when you're not in a hurry and you're just sort of swiping by each side. And yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. So I'll continue to type up my notes, even for my spreads. What I've decided to do, and again, it's all in the name of keeping this clean and clear and inviting to go back over in the months and years to come. So I have a notebook. So if I do a 3-card draw, I'm just going to scribble down whatever comes up. I can think about it for a day or two. And when I finally can rest easy knowing, okay, I do believe and sense this is the message for me from these 3 cards, then I will type it up and put it in this book here. I'm not saying I will never ever write anything, of course. But I just like the idea of, again, I can reduce a font and get quite a bit of information just in this short or small space here. It's just more efficient. The only other thing I've done is myself a little title page, and that was just for fun. Sorry, just trying to wrangle this thing. It's quite thick. I've got a lot of paper in here. So I made this little title page just because it was, I suppose, just a celebration of a new year and a new decade. And I bought a Happy Planner sticker book when I bought this. And in there was Wonder Seeker. And I thought, well, my word of the year is wonder. And I do believe I am a seeker. So that was highly apt, and that's what led me to just make this little title page. It's nothing flash. This here is the constellation of Taurus. This here is Scorpio, and I am a Scorpio sun with a Taurus moon. So that's what that is all about. And speaking of taking notes out of my notebooks from a lecture, this here, can't remember who it was, but this is a quote from... I think this lady might be involved in energy healing. No, it wasn't energy healing, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, she said, every year your job is to be better and better and better at being who you are. Your job is not to be like any other person. Your job is to be, sorry, I'll read that again. Your job is to be as unlike them as possible. And I absolutely get it together, Leander. I absolutely love that quote. Your job is to be as unlike everyone else as you possibly can, because you are unique. And so that's one I chose to put in just with a bit of washi on the title page to remind me of that. Because we do in this world tend to compare ourselves to other people, don't we? Which is crazy, but that's what we do. So I think that's enough. It's time for me to go, but just giving you the highlights. That's been a big focus, is going through my notes from my studies, lectures, notes I've collected on tarot, like general notes on tarot, astrology, healing, philosophies, magic, tarot spreads. And it's not to say that I don't have them neatly stacked in folders, but I think it's time to condense them even more, keep the highlights, but most importantly, the highlights are coming from my notebooks, where I ponder life, and my journals, and just keeping the highlights. That includes spreads, by the way. I will keep spreads from the last couple of years if I think they have a place, but if they don't, let it go. Let it go. So that's it. So much more to share, but I'll save that for another time. Thanks so much for sitting with me for a while. I hope you gained some insights or some enthusiasm, or I don't know. I just hope it's motivated you in some way. Let me know how you're going with your journals. I'd love to hear from you. Take care. All the very best, and bye for now.